Plus, I have other reasons to believe that he is clairvoyant. Yes, psychic abilities, which are actually pretty common in the spiritual community. Welcome or welcome back. This video might make more sense to you if you watch my previous one, but in summary, during the lockdown in 2020, I became schizophrenic. I slowly lost my sanity until I became psychotic, but Alkaline was the one who helped me to not only regain my sanity but become more conscious overall, and I am about to speak about that. I was falling in love with neuroscience. I wanted to get a deeper understanding of how marijuana causes psychosis, so I started observing my mind and body whenever I was high, and I did some research, even created a proposal, but it so happened that a few months later I myself became psychotic. And to keep myself grounded and to help to test my theory, I lived my life by the scientific method. But it really was Alkaline who helped me to come out of psychosis by basically me becoming his therapist and theorizing that we are indeed mad alike. First of all, I noticed that he exhibited symptoms of schizophrenia, and that was confirmed for me when he dropped top prize and referred to himself as paranoid and schizo. Then he has referred to himself as Mad Max, and if you've ever watched Mad Max, you know that Mad Max has visions. Plus, I have other reasons to believe that he is clairvoyant. Yes, I have struggled with depression my entire life. But you see, during the lockdown, I got in touch with nature. I was away from people and I was more connected with God, to the point where life actually started to feel good. And because life finally started to feel good, I said to God that I would dedicate my life to him. Like I said, I will choose life. And it so happened that about a week later, I started becoming manic. And during this mania, one of the nights I said I'm going to listen to my favorite artist, and I ended up listening to Extra Lesson at some point. And you see, when it hit the shock, girl, it's like my brain went into shock and I started replaying the song in my head, kind of. And one of the things I noticed is that the waste man, what this man talking about, sounds familiar, extremely familiar. Like the details in the song had too much in common with the experiences I've had with this waste man. In one of my previous videos, I spoke about how I begged God to give me vengeance against a particular man, and it just so happened that this man sounds like the man I'm going to pray about, right? For me, I'm a realist, and the simplest explanation is not good for me, good enough for me. So I had to try to understand why it is I pray about something in 2020 and it seems like my prayer was answered all the way in 2016 when that song was dropped. So I had to go to physics and try to understand the space-time continuum. If it is that Alkaline is speaking to someone, it sounds like Extra Lesson is the first song that he expected her to recognize him by, because he said, "Idiot boy, are you make she know me? Idiot boy, you make it easier for me." But that aside, hours after listening to this song, literally the next morning, I had a spiritual attack. What some people might call demons attacked me and kept telling me if I just go to sleep, then I could die. And that is very suspicious, because not only have I attempted suicide twice, but I have prayed to God to die. I used to wish to die every single day, and now you're telling me that I can just go to sleep and die simply hours after I think that this man might be talking to me. Extremely suspicious. Fought them off and such. But if people tell you about them kind of experiences here, you're just going to hear so they're mad. So I decided that I was going to understand these entities from a physical perspective, use physics to understand them, and of course from a psychological perspective to see why it happened to me. And I've concluded that thinking of things in terms of angels and demons is really the lowest form of thinking, but it can help us to gain understanding of our physical world and what governs it. It is a symptom of you having a delusional disorder if you believe that somebody is watching over you. But about a month after my first psychotic episode that left me hospitalized, no wife was released. And I was indeed at the top of my voice, making up a bag of noise. I did draw a crowd. I was banging on the gate, creating an entire scene. I was screaming for Alkaline, and I was singing now for like an entire scene. But that's not even the important part. The important part was shut the fuck up. You see, because I thought that he was talking to me, even if he's not, the fact that I believed he was, and I took the advice to shut the fuck up, changed everything for me on this healing journey. Because when you talk about your delusion, you actually fall deeper into delusion, and people realize how insane you are. But you see, because I took that advice, I was better able to use the neuroplasticity of my brain to my advantage and rewire it without fear. A lot of times schizophrenics may think that their thoughts are leaving their head, and they think that it's the government controlling their thoughts. But I just say, oh, it's just Alkaline getting my thoughts. Or I felt like I was being watched. Usually schizophrenics feel like it's the government. I'm just like, it's just Alkaline. But I was better able to move from being a paranoid schizophrenic to eventually a skeptical schizophrenic. And to be a good scientist, you have to be skeptical, and that helped me to test out the nature of reality better. In terms of the universe, the reality can be defined in terms of physics and mathematics, but as it relates to the psyche, there is no absolute reality. Astral projection and remote viewing are actually psychic phenomena that have been investigated from a scientific point of view. And before I did mad, I was speaking to someone about a diss song that Alkaline had dropped, and this is somebody who was from the same area as the person, and he said he's not sure how Alkaline would know that's about the person unless him have a snitch working for him. Like him say he must have some kind of snitch working for him. And you know, experiencing all of this, I really made that conversation there. Say Alkaline does not trust his own shadow. I find it very unlikely that he would have a snitch working for him. But he said in 12 p.m, been a watch it in and out, and you didn't even realize. So to me, somebody who's going insane thinking that somebody's watching over me, that makes sense. This would be a very long video if I were to tell you all of the coincidences that I noted in relation to my life. But to keep my sanity, I kept telling myself that they're just coincidences. But it got harder and harder, especially seeing that this man's brand is vendetta. And if you've ever watched V for Vendetta, you know that they've said several times in the movie that there are no such things as coincidences. When I say that the reason why I am insane at this point in time is this man, I mean it. How is any of this possible? With God, all things are possible, period. But as I say, Occam's razor doesn't really work for me. Quantum entanglement would explain it, and it explains why I feel his pain, like physically feel his pain. As I said, I've struggled with depression my entire life, so I know my pain. The more conscious I become, the more intense this foreign pain feels to me, and I know it doesn't belong to me. As I say, quantum entanglement really does explain that. And like back in 2019, I was tripping out on an edible. The edible was tearing me apart. I just did have one zap, and I was like, yo, somebody go check for Alkaline. That nigga is not okay. But I'm not really meds it after that. If you notice, when this is in already is a bit different from when I always did say. And that is what my alter picked up on. I have dissociative identity disorder, and Lilith is my alter. She is from Jewish folklore, but if you believe Genesis, if you take Genesis seriously, you might as well believe in Jewish mythology, especially since, you know, Christianity basically came from Judaism, and our savior was a Jew. Why would you not look into his background? But anyways, yeah, I don't consider myself to be possessed. I consider myself to be not even mentally ill anymore as it relates to DID, because she's the anthropomorphization of my subconscious mind. She helps me to understand existence, you know, the spirit world, Jungian psychology. She helps me to do shadow work, so I've integrated her into my being. But I have DID not because of anything this man did or said, but because I was raised poorly. I had to mentally raise myself. I was grown in an abusive cult, childhood abuse, neglect, trauma. That's why I have DID. What he said simply helped me to remember why I'm on this fucked up planet. So he said, could it be that I'm possessed? Therefore, I theorized that our DID is connected, and Lilith's counterpart lives in his head and is haunting him. Me and Letho, we are besties. Do I have religious delusions? You hear me talking about God and you hear me talking about Lilith. No, I do not have religious delusions, because I believe in God in a scientific way. I believe in him the way how Einstein and Tesla and Young believed in him. About 2 years ago, my therapist said that I had neuroscientific insights that she didn't really get until she was doing her PhD. Now, I have added my knowledge of spirituality and, you know, rewired my brain with taking into consideration my experiences, and I've had a lot of time to study science on my own. So the more I learned, the more responsibility I had, especially to the people who are trapped in the cult that I was trapped in. Jaja love everybody, and that cult makes you think that they're the only chosen ones and they're the only ones that are going to be saved, blah blah blah. That is not true. And I realized that I had a very big responsibility because I came out of that cult. All of these things were happening to me and I came out of that cult, and they're using God's name and making him look bad. So my responsibility was very, very heavy. I started realizing that Rastas are the real prophets. You know, them have the right idea about nature. And I looked into Buddhism, and you know, self-mastery is the key to enlightenment, which ties in with what Jung said about each and every one of us having to regenerate our own spirits in order for society to be fixed. So the more knowledge I had, is the more stressed out I was becoming, because if I had a delusional disorder, then I would not be able to say this may be the case or it may not be. Because if you're delusional, it's a firm, fixed belief. It means that your mind cannot be changed. My mind, I have the amazing ability to change my mind when I'm presented with new information. This journey has been extremely hard for me because never before did I ever have to fight suicidal thoughts. I would sit with them and I would fantasize about death. It would bring me so much peace. My hope and my faith was always in death. But I had to learn how to have extreme faith in God. I had to learn how to have hope and keep it pushing, because I promised God my life and I also believed that there was somebody else who would be affected by me not pushing forward. So, you know, I had to fight. And here I am, and I took the path that would ensure that if said person decided for some reason they want to hype on me, that I will definitely rest in peace. As it relates to the climate crisis, it is very, very, very serious, and I guess that's the reason why God picked this time for me to wake up. But I feel like if I don't get no help, right, if I have to continue being this conscious and this intelligent by myself, I'm gonna leave. I'm not Jesus. I have put a lot of information on my Instagram and on this channel so you can figure it out yourselves, which would mean that I would rest in peace, because God wants everybody to know that, yo, the cult that bears his name is not the truth. And I think that's the most important thing for me to say right now. But this is why I'm here, to help people and whatever. But as I said, I'm not Jesus. I'm not gonna continue suffering to help people.
Don't get expressed no one. I want one. Fight for the fight, and we still a show love. When I lose my phone, cause I want wine.